What's happening, guys? So Nate back here, and in this video I'm going to tell you a little story about the time I moved back in with my parents at the age of 26. All of that coming up right now. All right, guys, so I am 32 years old now. So this was actually not that long ago, right? And so I've been on the online business, the e-com business for 10 years, but that doesn't mean I was successful for 10 years. I've had most of my success in the last 3 or 4 years. And I'm gonna tell you a story. When I was 26, I started having I had to move back in with my parents because of me starting a company and running out of money. So when I was 22, I started my first online e-com store. I think I told this story before. And then 2 years later, I started my second online e-com store. Actually, maybe not full 2 years later, maybe a year and a half later. And that store was an online candle subscription business. And that one, I decided I was partnering with a friend and we were gonna do it together and make our dreams come true. But the problem is, like, I had a full-time job. I was working at a bank in Chicago. I just hated my job. So that's why I had this idea of starting a company, starting an online business. All day I read online or whatever about people making success, all these people starting companies, getting venture funding, and the world is great. So I thought, I'm smart, I can figure it out. And so I'm sitting in my bank, in my little cubicle, and I'm comfortable. I'm not gonna lie. I was there for 4 years. I didn't like the job the entire 4 years, but I was very, very comfortable in the job because I got away with a lot. I did maybe 1 hour of work a day, 2 hours on a busy day, and the rest of the time they would just pay me to play on the computer, which I would have been doing anyways at home. So I was like, whatever, I just gotta put on my nice khaki pants and show up in an office and get to play on the computer instead. So I stayed there for 4 years. Everything was fine, right? I had a boss that didn't really care. He was chillax, he was totally normal. He was a couple years older than me, no problem. The problem is that he was doing what the corporation considered a good job. So he got promoted, and his replacement, so I had him as a boss for like 3.5 years or 4 years or whatever. So, but his replacement was a girl. She was a bitch, but also a butch. A butch is like a girl with short hair, lesbian, but one of those fat ones that are hideous and smells and doesn't shave her arms and yeah. Bad. But middle-aged, so not just young and trying to be a hippie, middle-aged, like, 45, 50, butch, fat, smelled, and that would not just be the only problem. The problem is she had no idea what was going on at the company or what was going on in the department, had no idea. So the first couple months that she was the new boss, whatever, it was like, I already knew I wasn't gonna get along with her just from the first couple, weeks or whatever. But like after a while, when she starts getting the hang of like what we're actually doing, then she figures out how to track what we're doing. So our previous boss never did any of that, never cared what we were working on, just like, hey, is it getting done? Okay, it's getting done. I could do it in an hour a day and whatever. But the new girl would set up time tracking on the computer, recording the screens, like she got approval from the corporate whatever to get those things installed on the computers. And then I was getting more and more annoyed at the whole situation with the boss I hated, then getting tracked, and then she started filing complaints against me and a couple other people, but I was the main target because I don't like that, whatever, that control, that person over me telling me what to do and all that kind of stuff. So then she started filing complaints with HR about me showing up late to work. And yeah, I was a couple minutes late, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. But because I was consistently 5 minutes late every day, she would start filing complaints. And I got one complaint, I got pulled into the main HR office, which is not even the same building, it's down the road or whatever. And then the second one, I got, then they started, now even though I'm not doing anything different, nothing different from my behavior or work behavior. I'm not performing worse. I'm doing the exact same amount of work, the exact same whatever as I was the entire last 4 years. It's just someone was, you know, being a bitch and in just stirring trouble for no reason. And yeah, so I got my final warning from HR, which means if I got one more warning, I would be fired. Well, the problem is this bitch of a, she knows I'm a problem. She knows I don't get along with her. So what is she gonna do? She's gonna get rid of me, and she knows how to get rid of me, which is just keep filing complaints with me. That is what led me to just say, you know, fuck it, I quit. So I didn't actually walk out. I didn't throw the computer against the wall. I gave my 2-week notice, but I didn't tell her. She was gone or something on a, I don't know what she went on vacation or something for 2 weeks or something. So I waited. I knew she was going on vacation. I waited. And then I gave my 2-week notice and I was gone by the time she came back because I did not want to tell her I quit. I just told someone else I'm quitting. I don't want to talk to her. I didn't want to look at her. I don't want to do anything. So anyways, I quit my job after 4 years and I had no plan, nothing was working. Like I had this idea to start the business, or it was already starting to get started, right? With my friend. And he was a college friend who lived across the country. I was in Chicago, he was in Texas. So what did I do? We discussed it. I moved down to Texas and moved in with him. And dude, I cashed in everything I had. I had like $12,000 saved. I cashed in my 401k, I cashed in my IRA. I don't know what else I had. Oh, I had a pension too. I had a pension, Roth IRA, 401k, and I had $12,000 saved. I had just under $50,000, which seems like a lot. I was like, oh, that will give me enough time. I'll be stringent. I can make 50 grand last, you know, at least a year, you know, probably closer to 2 years. So I moved down, we started the business. The problem is I need 50 grand to live on for 2 years, not to try to start a business and live on. Those two don't work. When you start a business, you spend a lot of money. And so over the course of like 3 years, right, that business had ups and downs, but I made it 18 months. No, was it 18 months? It was over a year. So yeah, I would say 18 months. I made it 18 months before my money was completely out. I was paying my friend $300 a month to live with them. By the end of that 18 months, he was already lost interest in the company. There was a non-verbal kind of tension between me and him and his wife, and he's just like, you know, things are just not working out, time to go. And I agree, things weren't working out. I just didn't have an answer of what the fuck I was gonna do because the business was not working. I didn't have any money, and you know, it came to the point where it's just like, okay, I got to throw in the towel. I have $500 left in my bank account, and I got nothing to show for it for the last 18 months since I quit. I got nothing. I had to bring my parents up and say, hey, you know what? I have to come home. And they were pretty cool with it. They said, all right, you know, whatever. So come home. And I really didn't want to, because that means I failed and I had, you know, whatever. But they let me move back in. They did not charge me rent. They did not charge me, you know, for food. They paid for everything. And they also didn't, you know, force me to go get a job. I showed a little bit of proactive. I went to a couple interviews. I was, you know, seeing, because I was already like, hey, I got nothing working. I can't try to start a business. I got no money. So I gotta get a job. But the problem is like, I didn't want to take a minimum wage job. I didn't want to work at McDonald's, whatever. I was trying to find like something in the marketing space where I could like, you know, use my skills, which proved to be no skills because I didn't have any success. And the funny thing is, like, I lived with my parents for 8 months. 8 months. No, was it more than that? Yeah, I think it was 8 months. I think it was 8 months before something started working. So I don't know, I was online every day desperately trying to figure out how to make money from I was breaking down like, dude, I just need $30 a day, $30 a day. Okay, you know what, screw it. I need $20 a day, $20 a day. I was like, and then I was trying everything. I was trying to post on Craigslist to make websites for people. I was trying to do all the black hat form, like, hey, make this amount of money every day, like reading all that. So I was trying whatever, just enough to get me out of the parents' house and then try to build on, right? And during that whole time or whatever, I was seeing these ads over and over again for something called Empower, and I didn't know anything about it. I ignored it for a while. One day I just decided, it's like, what the hell is this? What is this? I don't know what this is. And so I watched the video and I was like, wait, this makes a lot of sense. They sold me, right? They sold me. But I didn't have any money. So what did I do? I used a credit card and I went all in on this company. All in means you have to spend like $5,000 or something like that. $3,500 for the big product. You gotta buy all these products before you can resell them. So I used a credit card and I got these products and I was like, okay, so now I have something to sell, something that people want, and I got a video I can use. So I was like, this is kind of my business now. And so I had a little bit of success, or I had a little experience with Facebook ads before from the e-com store that kind of failed. And then what I did was I tried Facebook ads, but it didn't really work. And then I saw this other ad someone else was running, because there was a lot of people doing the same thing at the same time. And then because it was really, really hot, very hot at the time, ads everywhere from lots of different people. And so I was kind of spying on what was working for other people, and I replicated one of the funnels. And I replicated that funnel, and I figured out that someone was running a YouTube ad, and I was like, well, I can do that same thing. Exactly, I can make my own YouTube. I figured out what keywords they're targeting on YouTube, and so I made a video ad targeting YouTube. I set up landing pages. This is like funnel, like before there were funnel. This is my funnel that I use. And then because I didn't have to create the product, I just sent them to a video. I realized that the YouTube ads are starting getting me leads for under $1. And so the first day I was spending like 20 bucks a day or whatever on my credit card, but I was getting 20 leads. And that would give me, I don't know, 5% or 3.5% would buy a $25 package. The $25 package would then upsell them into all these other items, the same way that I got upsold in. And it would do all the selling for you, so I didn't have to do it. They just send people to a page, and then they would start buying stuff. And so let's just say in like a matter of 3 months since I started the ad and realized it was working, in the matter of 3 months, literally, I went from nothing, having no money at whatever, to making over $50,000 and being one of the top performers in the company during that period. And I was actually like the top for like a 1 or 2 week period. I was the top performer, making 10 plus sales per day of new referrals. So I was doing like whatever, $10, $25 sales a day or something. But those 10 would buy like a $100 thing, would buy a $500 thing, would buy a $1,000 thing, would buy a $3,000 thing. And so they would buy all these other things that were for sale, and I started making a lot of money. So in 3 months, I made like 50 grand. And then that 50 grand is what I used to move out of my parents' house. I just said, well, that's it. And long story short, I got screwed big time on my ads because they were working so well. And then what happens, it was like a little loophole. It was like this weird loophole that allowed me to run my ads a certain way, and Google closed that loophole. I could no longer run my ads a certain way that would give me super cheap. So overnight, instead of getting $1 leads, I was getting $5 leads. So it was 5 times more expensive to make a sale. Actually, it was more than that. It was like 80 cents a click, and then it became, or no, it was like 40 cents a click, and then it became like $2.40 a click or something like that. Whatever. Anyways, it became exponentially more expensive, and I didn't have the profit anymore to keep the ads running, or I didn't have the experience to know what my ads are actually worth in order to okay, so they actually still are profitable, just not as profitable. But I didn't know that, and I stopped them. And then when I just stopped the momentum, everything kind of just dies out. But what I did was I used that 50 grand and I started traveling. I moved out of my parents' house, I started traveling. And that's kind of how, and I really ended up in Thailand. But then because that stopped working, the way I made all that money, I was really back to square one. I had a big chunk of change, I had some money, but then I was back to square one. And the funny thing is that 50 grand, because I was traveling around and I was living out of hotels, not hostels. I refused to live in a hostel. So I was living out of hotels for, I don't know, 6 months or whatever. I was backpacking for like 6 months. So that I used to spend most of my money, because I thought I was a baller and whatever. So I spent most of that money in like 6 months. And then I went back to my parents' house, but I still had a good chunk of change. I had like 20 grand left or 15 grand left. after 6 months. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna live here. I'm not gonna live here for long term. And that's when I started my drop shipping stuff. I started AliExpress drop shipping, and that started working as well. And then that's when I decided, okay, I'm moving overseas permanently. And so I started making that work, and then the rest is history for success stories, right? Then one success after another success. Then I had the wallet case print on demand store, and then I have the app now. And then, yeah, that's the history of me and that's my history. 10 years of struggle and success, and running out of money and having lots of money and running out of money and having lots of money and running out of money, back and back and back. So guys, if you're just getting started and you haven't had your oh my gosh, my card filled up, so whatever. Anyways, guys, that's a little bit of history of my channel. If you like story time, let me know in the comments, post your feedback, right? And guys, hit that notification bell, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.